Before Meghan Markle became the Duchess of Sussex, she was already perfecting another royal art form, the art of collecting headlines through her love life. From teenage flings to Hollywood flirts, from producers to chefs. Every chapter seemed less like romance and more like rehearsal. And if you believe the tabloids, each relationship wasn't just about love, it was about leveling up. So let's rewind the tape and take a tour through Meghan's pre-Harry history, where every boyfriend looked suspiciously like a stepping stone. Every story has a beginning. And Meghan's didn't start in palaces or on red carpets, it started in the hallways of her California high school. Classmates remember her as ambitious, charming, and always aiming higher. While other teens dreamed of prom dates, Meghan was already scanning for men with potential. One former schoolmate told a reporter that Meghan always knew exactly who the most popular boys were and somehow found her way next to them. Of course, teenage crushes don't normally make headlines. But with Meghan, everything feels like foreshadowing. Even in college, she cultivated relationships with what the tabloids later called the right crowd boys from good families. Young men with ambition. To some, it looked like youthful fun. To others, it looked like training for something bigger. As one gossip column cruelly joked years later, she wasn't just dating classmates, she was auditioning co-stars for the role of future husband. By the time Meghan hit Hollywood, the dating game started to look less like romance and more like networking. She was a young actress hustling for roles, bouncing from casting call to casting call, and always showing up with the right smile and the right company. Tabloids would later sneer that Meghan's early relationships were part romance, part resume building. By the time Meghan hit Hollywood, the dating game started to look less like romance and more like networking. She was a young actress hustling for roles, bouncing from casting call to casting call, and always showing up with the right smile and the right company. Tabloids would later sneer that Meghan's early relationships were part romance, par résumé building. She was spotted on dinners with minor TV hosts, whispered about with a couple of businessmen, and even linked to a sports figure or two. None of it lasted, but none of it needed to. Each rumor, each night out, each photo opportunity kept her name floating in the right circles. To Hollywood insiders, she was ambitious. To critics, she was opportunistic. One columnist summed it up with acid precision. Every date was a stepping stone. And Meghan knew exactly how to keep climbing. Trevor Engelson. And then came Trevor Engelson, the Hollywood producer who seemed like Meghan's big win. They dated for 7 years. A long apprenticeship in the art of being a power couple. Before finally marrying in 2011. On paper, it looked romantic. The actress from Suits tying the knot with the man who could open doors in Los Angeles. 2 friends. It looked like stability. But to the tabloids, it looked like strategy. As one insider later sniped, he gave her the red carpet, and she walked all over it. At first, it was love mixed with hustle. Trevor supported her career, cheered her rise on Suits, and believed they were building something together. But as Meghan's star began to rise, her loyalty began to fall. Fame changed her pace, and Trevor couldn't keep up. Within 2 years, the fairy tale marriage had curdled into cold distance. The final act, Meghan ended the marriage with a move so brutal, it could have been scripted for TV. She mailed her wedding rings back to him through the post. No face-to-face closure. No heartfelt conversation. Just returned to sender husband edition. Friends of Trevor described him as blindsided, humiliated, and heartbroken. But Meghan, she was already moving forward, armed with a new level of fame and a sharper sense of ambition. For Trevor, the marriage was over. For Meghan, it was just another stepping stone. And for the press, it was the first unmistakable glimpse of a pattern relationships that seemed less about love and more about leverage. Corey Vitiello after Trevor Engelson. Meghan didn't waste much time licking her wounds. Instead, she traded Hollywood heartbreak for a Canadian fairy tale dating celebrity chef Corey Vitiello. The darling of Toronto's food scene. To outsiders, it looked picture-perfect Meghan on the rise with suits, Corey serving up five-star dishes, the two of them posing as a glamorous power couple north of the border. For a while, Toronto society embraced them as their own royal duo, but the tabloids had another take. One headline sneered, "The last stop before Harry." And that's exactly how it looked. Friends of Corey would later grumble that Meghan enjoyed the perks front-row restaurant treatment. A polished image, a stable partner, but deep down, she was already scanning for the next opportunity. Timing was everything. As Meghan's relationship with Corey cooled, her path conveniently crossed with Prince Harry through mutual friends, charity events, and a very well-placed introduction. When the Harry rumors began to swirl, Corey was quietly written out of the script. No scandalous breakup. No explosive fight, just Meghan slipping away, as she always did, to something bigger, to the gossip pages. It was classic Markle use the spotlight, then leap into a brighter one. And in Corey's case, the chef became a footnote, overshadowed by the prince who would soon become Meghan's ultimate catch. Sen, the golf pro rumor. Not every chapter in Meghan's past came with a wedding ring or a long-term partner. Some came wrapped in whispers and paparazzi snapshots. One of the juiciest, the golf pro rumor. At the height of her suits fame, Meghan was spotted at events and charity functions where she appeared a little too friendly with a well-known professional golfer. The tabloids, never once to miss a swing, splashed headlines like "From suits to swings, Meghan plays a different game now." Did anything truly happen? Hard evidence was thin. But in the world of celebrity gossip, proof isn't necessary, suggestion is enough. What mattered wasn't the romance, but the optics. Meghan rubbing elbows with yet another high-profile figure, expanding her circle, keeping her name hot in both Hollywood and sports pages. One columnist quipped, "For Meghan, every rumor was useful, even if it wasn't true. It kept her in the spotlight. And that was the genius or the calculation, depending on how you look at it. Whether the golf pro was a fling, a friend, or pure fiction, the result was the same: Meghan's image as a woman always moving in the right circles, always climbing, never standing still." Rory McIlroy, the golf pro rumor. Not all of Meghan's alleged connections came with wedding vows. Some came wrapped in juicy rumors. One of the loudest whispers tied her name to Rory McIlroy, the world-famous golf champion from Northern Ireland. By the mid-2010 seconds, Rory was already a global sports star, winning majors and living a life splashed across the tabloids. He wasn't married at the time, but his love life was constantly under the spotlight, linked to tennis star Caroline Wozniacki before moving on to Hollywood circles. So when Meghan's name appeared alongside Rory's in gossip pages, it made instant noise. A charity event here, a cheeky Instagram post there, and suddenly the tabloids were calling them the odd couple nobody saw coming. For Meghan, the connection was priceless. Rory was an A-list athlete, adored on both sides of the Atlantic. Being seen with him, even briefly, kept her orbit buzzing beyond suits. For Rory, it was another brush with celebrity glamour. For Meghan, it was another headline that hinted she could move just as comfortably in the sports world as she did in Hollywood. Did it last? Not at all. But like many Meghan rumors, longevity wasn't the point, visibility was. As one gossip writer sneered, Rory gave her the swing. Meghan took the spotlight. Woo. Rory McIlroy, politician's son. Among Meghan's rumored flings, one name still pops up in the gossip columns: Rory McIlroy, not the golf star this time, but the son of a well-known American politician, Tabloids claimed Meghan was briefly linked to him during her Suits years, spinning it into the perfect power connection subplot. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't just dating actors or chefs, she was brushing up against political royalty. One paper even ran the headline, "From Hollywood to Capitol Hill, Meghan Markle's political play." How serious was it? Probably not at all. Friends dismissed it as little more than a couple of dinners and a conveniently timed paparazzi shot. But in the tabloid universe, that was more than enough. As one columnist sneered, Meghan was always in the right room, with the right man, at the right time. Even if it didn't last, it kept her name hot. To critics, the whole episode fit the pattern relationships as stepping stones. Each one another rung on the ladder, whether it was love, strategy, or just clever PR. Meghan once again came out with what she really wanted: attention, headlines, and the aura of someone who could float between Hollywood sets and political circles with ease. Lil. Piers Morgan. If Meghan's rumored golf fling raised eyebrows, her so-called TV host encounter sent the gossip columns into overdrive. The man in question, Piers Morgan, the outspoken British broadcaster who loves to remind the world that Meghan once slid into his DMs. According to Piers, Meghan struck up a friendly rapport online while she was still filming Suits. They shared a few messages, then met for drinks in London. Piers has repeated the story endlessly, claiming that after their night out, Meghan simply vanished, only to be photographed days later on her first public outing with Prince Harry. He calls it, "Meghan ghosted me for a prince." The tabloids turned that into a punchline headline. From Piers to a palace, Meghan dumps TV host for royal toast. Was it a date? Was it networking? Was it Meghan playing the field while sizing up her options? Nobody knows for sure. But what's undeniable is how the narrative stuck. Meghan had no problem charming a TV personality for headlines, then walking away without a backward glance. Piers himself summed it up best bitterly. "Of course, she used me for contacts, and then iced me out the second Harry showed up." For Meghan, it was classic timing. For the gossip world, it was pure gold. See Marcus Anderson. If Meghan had already tested the waters with chefs, athletes, and TV hosts, the next chapter in her rumor mill was pure power play, the businessman connection. Tabloids repeatedly linked her name to Marcus Anderson, a Toronto nightlife consultant with deep ties to Soho House, the private members club where the wealthy and influential gather. Anderson wasn't just another socialite, he was a fixer, a gatekeeper to celebrity circles. And most importantly, he was the man credited with introducing Meghan to Prince Harry. Rumors swirled that Meghan's friendship with Marcus was unusually close, with some insiders hinting that she leaned on him not just for introductions, but for access to the elite lifestyle she craved. One gossip column dubbed him Meghan's passport to power. Anderson was wealthy, well-connected, and unmarried, making the speculation even juicier. Did Meghan ever date him officially? No, but tabloids feasted on the whispers, pointing out how conveniently he always seemed to be at her side before Harry entered the picture. As one commentator sneered, Marcus didn't just open doors for Meghan, he rolled out the red carpet, and she sprinted straight into the arms of a prince. For Meghan, the connection was priceless. For Marcus, it was publicity by association. And for the press, it was the perfect bridge between Meghan's old world and her royal destiny. Bah. Prince Harry, every climber needs a final rung. And for Meghan, it came in the form of a carefully staged introduction. By now, she had circled through chefs, athletes, businessmen, and even a TV host or two. But what she really wanted was a crown, or at least the man wearing one. The connection came through none other than Marcus Anderson, her ever-present Soho House confidant. He arranged the kind of introduction most women only dream about: Meghan Markle, the ambitious actress from Suits, being presented to Prince Harry at a London soiree. The tabloids lapped it up. shopping for a Prince Meghan's final casting call. Friends later whispered that Meghan had been openly curious about meeting a royal, even joking about finding her prince long before Harry arrived. And when she finally shook his hand, insiders claimed she turned on the full charm eye contact. Warm laughter. The practiced confidence of someone who knew this was her moment. From that evening on, the script changed. Meghan wasn't just another actress dating celebrities, she was a woman on the cusp of rewriting her life. The gossip world saw it instantly every relationship before Harry had been rehearsal. And now she was ready for the leading role. And then came the prize that made every headline worth it. Prince Harry. The man who once called himself the Spare suddenly became Meghan's golden ticket into the heart of the monarchy. Their romance moved fast. Almost suspiciously fast. As if Meghan knew she wasn't just dating another celebrity, she was securing the role of a lifetime. The tabloids roasted it mercilessly. From Hollywood hustle to royal castle, Meghan's final upgrade. Critics pointed out the pattern: a producer to launch her, a chef to ground her, athletes and socialites to keep her name hot, and finally, a prince to seal the deal. One commentator sneered. Every boyfriend looked like a stepping stone. And Harry was the throne. For Harry, it was love. For Meghan, it was destiny. And for the world, it was the birth of a scandal machine that has kept the Windsors in constant turmoil ever since. The fairy tale marriage at St. George's Chapel in 2018 was sold as a love story. But for the gossip pages, it read like the final chapter of a long audition. The girl who mailed her wedding rings back to Trevor, who ghosted Piers Morgan, who breezed through circles of power and privilege. Amos had finally caught her prince, but as every royal watcher knows, catching the prize is only the beginning, because in Meghan's story, the question isn't how she got Harry, it's what she'll do with him next.